Hello guys, it is me again, it's HorrorFan34. Sorry about that, I had to clear my throat. But I am back once again with another video, and this is going to be once again another just random top 10. And this is going to be a really interesting one. Once I did this list, I kind of was like a domino thing. I did another year for a top 10, and then I did another year for a top 10, and things like that. So, as you can tell by the title, this is going to be my personal choice of the top 10 most underrated films from the year 1985. Just picked a random year. I went through the list of films that came out in 1985, and I picked the top 10 ones, in my opinion, that I feel are very, very underrated. That not many people probably talk about, or ones that were a flop, or just ones that not many people even know about, or just in general. But enough of me just talking about, talking on and on. Let's get on to my top 10 underrated films of 1985. I have a list on my phone because I don't have some of them on DVD. Some of them I do. But the ones I don't have on DVD, I'll just show a picture on my phone of what it is and all that stuff. So, anyways, let's get on to the top 10 underrated films of 1985. Coming in at number 10 is a really fun anthology film. This came out on Blu-ray a few years ago when Stephen King's It was released on Blu-ray. And Salem's Lot, which I think was like a whole list of Stephen King films that were on Blu-ray. This was one of them that was imported to Blu-ray, and it's a really fun anthology from 1985, and that's why it's my number 10 choice. That's Cat's Eye. Cat's Eye is an underrated horror anthology that not many people talk about or probably even know about, as things like, Creepshow or like Tales from the Crypt or things like that. But this is an underrated anthology film directed by Louis Teague, same guy that did Cujo, Alligator, Collision Course. I think he did Navy SEALs too, I believe. Drew Barrymore, and it's like an anthology film. One of them is about a guy who's trying to quit smoking. That guy's played by James Woods. You have another one about Drew Barrymore who has this cat. I think this is a really fun anthology film that I would highly recommend you check out if you haven't got a chance to. That's why Cat's Eye is my number 10 underrated film of 85. Coming in at number 9 is a really underrated mystery kind of film with Kurt Russell. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try to get the light on here. The Mean Season. This is a really very underrated serial killer kind of movie where Kurt Russell is getting all these clues from this killer that he's trying to track down, and all that stuff. It's kind of like in the like Seven, like a Zodiac kind of movie. I think it's a really underrated mystery kind of film that not many people talk about, and it's a really underrated, and it's almost an underrated Kurt Russell film as well. That's why The Mean Season is my number 9. Coming in at number 8 is a really fun comedy film from 85. That would be Brewster's Millions. Brewster's Millions, I know, just came out on Blu-ray. I don't know if it was this year or last year. I want to get that at some point. I think it was only a Walmart exclusive Blu-ray. But Brewster's Millions is a really fun comedy film with Richard Pryor and John Candy. It's directed by Walter Hill, of all people. The guy that did 48 Hours and Southern Comfort, Trespass. That Walter Hill did a comedy film. And it's a really fun film. The chemistry between Richard Pryor and John Candy is just fantastic. And I really do think this is a really fun comedy film from 1985 that I don't think many people talk about that much. It's a really great film between two comedic legends that are no longer alive anymore. And it's really a shame because I'm a huge fan of Richard Pryor and John Candy, and it's a shame that they're no longer with us anymore. So rest in peace to those two guys. They were fantastic comedians. Coming in at number 7 is an underrated Sean Penn film, The Falcon and the Snowman. This is with him and Timothy Hutton. It's a really hard movie to explain without giving too much away, but I'm going to leave that up to you guys to watch it. It's a really underrated Sean Penn film that I don't think many people talk about. Like, when people talk about Sean Penn, you hear about, Colors with him and Robert Duvall, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Mystic River, Carlito's Way. I mean, you hear all about them, but I don't think many people talk about The Falcon and the Snowman that much. And I think it's an underrated Sean Penn film. At Close Range is another underrated one that Sean Penn did with his brother, Christopher Walken. Excuse me. I still have a little bit of a cough, but I think it's an underrated film from 1985. Okay. Coming in at number 6 is, of course, Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet, a very underrated werewolf film with Corey Haim and Gary Busey. I know that this film was just released on Blu-ray from Umbrella Entertainment, and it's got a lot of new features on it because this is a bare bones DVD. But this is just a very underrated werewolf film. It has a fantastic musical score by Jay Chataway. I think he did a great job on the music score. Corey Haim is greatly missed. I really do enjoy Corey Haim. Gary Busey, of course, I'm a big fan of Gary Busey. This is just a really underrated werewolf film. One of the more underrated Stephen King movies. Coming in at number 5 is another very fun horror film, The Stuff. The Stuff is the really fun premise where they sell this kind of like yogurt that comes from the ground, and when people eat it, it takes over their bodies. I mean, such a fun, entertaining horror film from the 80s. It screams 80s. I really do enjoy the cast. You have Danny Aiello from Jacob's Ladder, Paul Sorvino. It's a really fun horror film, and it screams 80s. It's a great Larry Cohen film. I'm a huge fan of Larry Cohen. I think he did a great job with The Stuff. Okay, so coming in at number 4 is my favorite Chuck Norris film, Code of Silence. Code of Silence, from the same director, Andrew Davis, same guy that went on to do The Fugitive, Collateral Damage, Under Siege. Chuck Norris in this film is so good. Tons of action. It's just Chuck Norris just kicks a lot of butt in this movie. It's a really fun film, and that's why this is still without a doubt my favorite Chuck Norris film. I really do enjoy this movie a lot. Code of Silence, very underrated. Okay, coming in at number 3, we have a film that I think is criminally underrated and all that stuff. I want to review it at some point because I really do enjoy the film. Coming in at number 3 is The New Kids. Right there. The New Kids was a film. I don't know why this film was released in January of all things. I mean, this seemed like more like a film that should have been released during the summer, because it takes place in like Florida and it takes place within like a carnival setting. It seems more of like a summer film than a January film. And of course, it was released in January and didn't do anything in the box office. But it's directed by Sean S. Cunningham, same guy that did Friday the 13th. And it's got a really good cast. You have Shannon Presby as the lead. You have Lori Loughlin, before she was Aunt Becky on Full House. James Spader is your bad guy. And James Spader's henchman. You have John Philbin from Children of the Corn. And all that stuff. It's basically about 2 kids played by Shannon Presby and Lori Loughlin. and their parents are killed in a car accident, and they go to live with their uncle in Florida who owns this carnival, and they start going to the new school there because they're new in town. And then you come to find there's this gang of kids that are really dangerous, led by James Spader's character. And basically, from there, it gets really, really crazy, what they try to do, and all that stuff. I mean, James Spader is fantastic in this movie as the villain. You know, crazy. You want crazy? Like when he's at the gas station, he's trying to ask Lori Loughlin out, and she rejects him. She calls him crazy, and he says, then he looks straight in her eyes, and he's like, crazy? You want crazy? Well, I'll show you crazy. And he's got like bleached blonde hair, and James Spader is fantastic in this movie. And the whole finale at the carnival is a lot of fun. I don't want to give too much more away, but the new kids I really do enjoy. Coming in at number 2 is a really underrated Ridley Scott film, Legend. Really magical film, very fantasy-like movie. Tim Curry, Tom Cruise, Mia Sara, music by Jerry Goldsmith. I mean, I really do enjoy Legend. And the most underrated film that came out in 1985 is, without a doubt, Death Wish 3. Charles Bronson in this film is just over the top, and he wipes out like this entire gang of people, and with, you know, he has like a rocket launcher, and it's just over the top cheesy goodness. It's a very fun film. You have a really early role by Alex Winter before Bill and Ted as one of the gang members. Charles Bronson in this film. I mean, this is just a really fun, entertaining film. I'm a huge fan of the Death Wish franchise. I even enjoyed the new Death Wish of Bruce Willis, which I was really surprised by. But no one else would be Paul Kersey but Charles Bronson. And this film is without a doubt my favorite of the Death Wish movies. You know, over the top action. I mean, Charles Bronson just goes for the kitchen sink in this. I mean, that's why this is the most my personal pick for the most underrated film of 1985. And so there you have it. Those are my top 10 most underrated films from 1985. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Alright guys, take care.